The American Civil Liberties Union has been working for a long time to represent people who identify as LGBT and to assist them in overcoming obstacles that are placed in their way by government policies that deny them basic human rights and basic access. Everything from working on the Freedom to Marry movement and being part of that effort all across the country and certainly here in Illinois, to representing in the early days some of the first cases involving people who were HIV positive and making sure that they were not denied health care, to working today on behalf of transgender youth and assuring that they are not discriminated against in our public schools, to working on legislation that puts in place anti-bullying programs that seek to ensure, in part, that children aren't bullied because they're gay or lesbian or transgender in our public schools. We've been part of a group that worked to pass an anti-bullying bill. While that bill doesn't specifically speak to LGBT youth, what we know is that if you identify as gay or lesbian or transgender in school, you are much more likely to be the victim of bullying. And we know that school ought not to be a place where you're afraid or hiding. It ought to be a place for learning and growing. And so, what we want to make sure is that those policies get implemented in a way that children and young people feel comfortable in their schools.
Like about 5th grade, people used to call me a dyke, gay, and I used to cry, but then I also felt like, I just felt like, I shouldn't even give them sympathy of me crying and stuff.
As a teenager in school, how you are treated, how you are identified, how you are respected by the students around you isn't just important, it's everything. And we need to make sure that our public schools not only are educating children, but that they're respecting every child, no matter who they are and no matter how they identify in terms of their sexual orientation or their gender. And that's something we're going to continue to work on through the next several years. But we need to keep working on that. We need to have good programs in every school that address bullying in that way and that respect, the fact that people are different and let people identify as who they are without having to feel fear every time they walk through the school doors.
But in high school, people was really cool about it. All of a sudden everybody else is gay and everybody else likes females. So I started feeling more comfortable about it. My life now is easy because not really people, tend to see that I'm bisexual unless I tell them. Like a lot of people nowadays are bisexual, and it's not really a bad thing anymore. People will accept you.
We really could take a cue from youth in terms of the way in which we ought to respond and respect and relate to people simply because they're living the lives that they need to live to be themselves.
Be yourself and don't let nobody try to tell you who you want to be.
We're a land of the free, but there are so many people disadvantaged in this country that is kind of ridiculous. And so I think that even though our legislative process is very lengthy, they're working to get it so that everybody gets more advantages and more privileges, and we're all equal.
In the area of transgender rights, we're working very hard to see that the American, the ACA or the Obamacare Act is fully implemented in a way that covers transgender health care in a way that is reflective of giving people the kind of health care that they need and that their doctor says they need, as opposed to being sort of fraught with negative stereotypes. I'm actually going to break some news for you, which is that in about an hour and a half, the city of Chicago in this area is going to announce that they are changing their policies for their employees' healthcare system to ensure that people who are transgender get access to the healthcare services they need. For far too long, people who work for the city of Chicago who needed hormone treatment or who needed particular kinds of surgeries as part of their transition were just denied those services. And I'm happy to say, after some advocacy that we've done with the city, that the city's about to announce that they're changing that policy as of October 1st. These are the kinds of things we need to do both here in Illinois and all across the country, really, as we move forward.